Hello guys and welcome back to the Riot International Invitational Finals. This is the third and final game of the second series between Team Turquality and Mouz Sports. I am Pulse and I'm joined by Metas, and that was an absolutely crazy last game, Metas.
It was awesome. That's the reason I cast, is for games like that. In a nutshell, it was just awesome. Backwards and forwards, both teams trading blows, as we said before. Two heavyweight boxers just throwing down the center of the ring. And at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, the last team left standing was Team Turquality. First game, of course, falling into the hands of Mouz Sports very comfortably. We have to mention as well that the first game was pretty much one-sided from the get-go. And for Team Turquality to come back in that kind of fashion and to take game two, I mean, it's a big testament to their resilience as players.
Yeah, for sure. And as we jump into the third and final game, it's interesting to see what they'll be banning and indeed, all importantly, picking. The first banned champion from Mouz is, well, can we actually be surprised at this? Blitzcrank. And those grabs were so perfect and on point in that last game, causing so many issues for Mouz. Gotta ban that one out. Lux comes out once again, seeing that as a consistent theme through each one of these games. Jarvan comes out as well to deny some of that AoE potential coming in from TT. Rumble comes out as well. Really don't like this AoE so far. I'm just waiting for the last two banned champions.
The same bans that Team Turquality have taken both games thus far, Lux and Rumble. So it's pretty much just the same old for them. We've got to say, they've also gone for Twisted Fate, I think, both games. So we'll see if that's going to be the third ban. But, you know, Tyrese right now is probably both flattered and slightly disappointed. He's like, oh, shucks, you took my Blitzcrank. Oh, you. But at the same time, like, god damn it, I was loving playing Blitzcrank. They're actually going to take Thresh out. So, again, they are definitely worried about AOD on Thresh. So they should be. He plays a phenomenally strong Thresh. And straight away, Jace picked up from Mouz Sports. Interesting stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Jace a couple times so far in these games earlier today, and Jace is just, yeah, he's super strong. He's strong in that mid lane, top lane, no matter where you put him, he's going to do some work. We do also have the Zac coming out, hasn't been banned out, and in those games before, earlier today, Metas, we've seen him to great effect, both in the top lane and the mid lane. And in fact, one of the main reasons that Mouz took the first game so confidently was probably because of that Zac, and instead, TT confident enough to be like, actually, we don't need Zac, you can go ahead and have him if you want, but we're going to take Nautilus and Sona.
Yeah, interesting, because Kikis' Zac was just phenomenally strong. But as I said in Game 2 picks and bans, I feel maybe it was more of a composition around Zac and Thresh together, because the box and Let's Bounce is such a strong combination. So if you don't have one, you probably aren't going to go for that combo, and therefore they're going to maybe pick something different. Sona coming in, that was AOD's support last time around, landed some beautiful flash crescendos. Interestingly enough, they are hovering over Sejuani, which would definitely fit into Cyrus Q's mentality of jungling. He's a very aggressive jungler, he likes to make plays happen, and the Glacial Prison from Sejuani ticks both of those boxes very, very easily. So I wouldn't be too surprised to see Sejuani coming in. Looks as though AOD is interested in the Zyra support.
Yeah, just hovering over that at the moment, not quite locking it in just yet, and in fact they are swapping away from that Swajani pickup, and in fact moving on to the Varus. So you have the Varus and you have the Zyra bot lane, two champions we haven't yet seen so far today. And Varus and Zyra, so that's more of like a keep them at range, more pokey setup down at this bot lane. And Varus, yeah, he's ticks both of those boxes. I mean, you have the slow coming in from that Hail of Arrows, you also have the slow from the Grasping Root on those plants, as well as the actual Grasping Roots themselves. Very, very difficult to regress into that lane at the same time having the same sort of poke. And immediately locked in will be the Graves, so you have Graves Sona, and pairing up against that Varus and Zyra, how do you think it's going to go down, Metas?
That is an interesting lane. I mean, Graves has fallen a bit out of favour. You remember back to Season 2, he was part of the Trinity picks of AD carries, and he has kind of fallen off. I mean, Double Lift does still play him to extremely strong effect, and I personally still love Graves, always have, always will. Got a bit of a man crush on that dude. So, I'm enjoying the idea and the prospect of watching him play with Sona. How it will work out, I'm not too sure, because again, if Sona does get caught by the Grasping Root and all of the AoE afterwards, she's going to go down very quick. She is a very squishy support champion. But at level 6, crescendo and collateral damage from the combination here from Team Turquality is very, very scary to play against. And this is Cyrus Q's, one of his favorite junglers is Hecarim. He likes to play him some Hecarim. So, again, Hecarim or Sejuani, either or, same kind of idea, hard engage, hard initiation, they want to get in your face.
Yeah, and not quite locked that one in just yet, but he does have some crazy initiation skills, and on top of the Zyra ultimate as well, you already have a lot of AoE lockup. They have the knockup coming in from AoZ, and Frushot will have the Varus as well with the Chains of Corruption, the ultimate coming in with the Onslaught of Shadows coming in from that Hecarim, and then you have just the damage coming in straight up from Karthus, and you can afford to go for a more straight-up damage-orientated mid with that much CC. I mean, generally you go for something different because you have CC locked in, you have that utility coming in, but go for some pure damage, you have that CC already within that team comp. Of course, he does have that Wall of Pain, but not quite as solid as, say, the knockups and the fears and the roots as well.
Yeah, another thing to mention is that Varus was played by Fushop in game number 1, and he had an awesome game, so clearly very comfortable on Varus. Also, Kennen has been locked as well. You assume that's going to be at the top lane, especially if they do pick up Ahri, which is typically a mid lane champion. But they're actually going over with the idea of Xerath and flirting with the idea of Ahri and Xerath, so not too sure what they're going to be locking in. Regardless, though, Pulse, what are your feelings on Kennen as a champion top lane? He is so strong in team fights, but do you feel it's a good pickup?
Sorry, who was that? I just missed that.
Kennen.
Oh, Kennen. So, yeah, with the Kennen and the Ahri, they're going to have, well, basically strong double AP composition. When you get into those team fights, that's really when where Kennen shines. He's a great duelist, he's one of the best, in fact, but when you get into those team fights, he's going to be able to lock up basically 2 or 3 more people with that stun from that passive, with those marks as well coming in from the ultimate, along with the rest of the abilities. And then following up with all the CC from the Crescendo, the extra burst damage coming in from Graves, and also the Nautilus, then following up the pure damage coming in from Ahri, it spells good times. If they can lay all those ultimates on top of each other, they're in a good position. That being said, we've already talked about the lockdown ability coming in from Mouse Sports. They have all these lockdown ultimates, and if they can layer those on top, as the Nautilus comes in, as the Kennen comes in, and Ahri likes to be sort of closer range as well with those Spirit Rushes, then it could definitely throw a wrench in the works.
That is a very, very good point, and I am super interested to see how this game is going to play out. Currently resides at a 1-1 scoreline with Team Turquality definitely with the momentum spike in their favour. We're going to cut it off on a very quick break here for the next 2.5 or so minutes while the delay is counting down. When you rejoin us, we'll be live for game number 3, the final game of today's proceedings in the Riot International Invitational Tournament, and we are going to be seeing both Mouse Sports and Team Turquality fighting for the victory. We'll see you very shortly. Hello, ladies and gents. Welcome back to Chaos TV's live coverage of the Riot International Invitation. I'm Metis, joined by Pulse, and we are live into the final game of today. This game is going to decide who wins this best of three between Mouz Sports and Team Turquality. This is going to be the last game of the day, Pulse. Looking forward to it, dude. That second game was ridiculous.
Yeah, and honestly, it's absolutely crazy. The first game, bit of a landslide in the favour of Mouz Sports. Getting to the second game, completely different story. So close up until like the 35-minute mark. TT eventually actually bringing it to the victory. Absolutely nuts. And yeah, we are just having both teams fan out once again. Not going to be too much aggression, but we do have Halpern just around our blue buff, along with Sarasq as well, who will be moving on to his own respective blue buff.
Yeah, indeed. So let's have a quick look. Looks as though we're going to have the AD support of Mouz going to bot lane. And on the flip side, looks very likely that Tyrese and Lathian will be going to bot themselves. So pretty much a standard opening here. Mid lane is going to be Ari facing off against Karthus. And that, of course, will leave Kennen and Jace rocking it out at top lane. So one of the first times that we have seen a completely standard opening here for a considerably long time, Pulse. Normally you get the lane switch-ups.
Yes, indeed, and fairly common jungle starts as well, because with jungle, it's like a chess game. You basically look at it like, well, I'm going to start res, I'm going to go for fast free, go for that mid gank, bot gank, predict where the enemy jungler's going to be, but in fact, both junglers going to start blue, so it's like whatever, and just go for a normal route. They like to be fairly sustained in this start, so, you know, it makes a lot of sense, but still, seems like the most generic game we've had so far here, Metas.
Yeah, and you can't really blame the teams after that game number 2. They've probably poured out their hearts and souls on the Rift last time around. But Sarasq, seen him playing Hecarim a lot in the EOS Challenger series, and he loves to be aggressive. He is going to be so aggressive with this horse, especially at level 6. Onslaught of Shadows, he's going to look to make engagements over walls, he's going to look to engage behind as well, come around the back of the towers. He's just going to be putting down a lot of pressure, so definitely one to watch out for. But for now, with these lanes in particular, I don't see a great deal happening until the junglers get involved. Mid's going to be a farming frenzy, neither really wants to commit fully into an exchange, and bot lane does definitely have some capabilities with AOD Zyra, maybe if you can lock down Sona making plays, but apart from that, I feel that Nautilus and obviously, Hecarim are going to have to make some plays. Speaking of which, Nautilus has gone top here, Pulse.
Yeah, Halpern maybe looking to get something done onto Kickers, who's just gone ahead and juked into the brush. He might sniff, Halpern just around the area. Dredgeline hits a minion right in front of his face, and I think Halpern just looking a little bit embarrassed there. Just gonna casually walk out of that lane. But meanwhile, at bottom, we have some more aggression going on to Tyrese. Nice piercing arrow just tags him on the tail end of that as well. And we have poke coming in from both teams. Lefferty likes to kind of get in close and personal, deal some damage more closer to Food Shark, but at the moment it looks more like a poke fest and just a farming frenzy.
Yeah, very true. I think Helfern was like, nothing to see here, move it along, gents. I'm just gonna pull myself back to the tower and then back into the jungle in the shadows. Meanwhile, though, in mid, Ari's taking a lot of damage there from Sarasq, who is showing a bit of presence himself, but not able to pick up the kill or burn a summoner's spell. So Ari is going to be A-OK just to farm this mid for a bit longer. This has definitely been the slowest start thus far. Speaking of that, though, Graves is taking a lot of damage. Piercing arrow comes in, and I actually think that Sona's heal saved his life. The plant attack came in right at the death there, but the perseverance just about landing previously. Beautiful play there from Tyrese again. He's an exquisite support player.
Yes, indeed. That was literally half a second away from death right there. And Falcon getting aggressive onto Kickers as well as the gank comes in from Halpern. And this time around, no one's going to be embarrassed. The flash comes down, staggering blow comes out, and first blood picked up from Faldrin. Going to be very happy with that result. And now, already we were just saying no action, going to be farming frenzy. Cursed commentator, all action all over the board.
And Helpern's like, yeah, he made you look, I gave you a false sense of security with the previous gank. Now I'm actually going to try and pick up the kill. So definitely making amends from the previous gank. Giving it also to Thaldrin, who's going to be very happy with the first blood on Kennen. Interestingly enough, got the rejuvenation beads first. So with a 1.5k in his back pocket, going back, takes himself Dawn's Blade. and also 2 Doran's Blades actually and Boots of Speed. So a fairly interesting build. As you said previously though, Pulse, a lot of cannons will take the Doran's Blades for extra harassment and last hitting potential.
Yeah, and probably from here, Metas, he'll probably look for a more, standard AP build, but just for the laning phase and just tankiness as well and slot efficiency, he's good to go with the Double Doran's Blade. Interesting actually to see where the Rejuvenation Bead goes, but maybe just again for the lane dominance along with those Doran's Blades. But we do have Hecarim sniffing around the area along with Tyrese putting down that ward, and if he wants to come out, he's going to basically have to go for that ward or either clear it, and in fact AOD is actually going to do that instead, so think they may be safe. Hecarim immediately comes in after that vision goes down. Actually have the follow on from AOD looking to get aggressive onto Lephilion, coming behind with the devastating charge and the rampage as well. Spirits of Dress have come out and the Requiem comes out as well, maybe to clear up the mess. Kill comes down from Fushop, and Karthus also gets the assist in there as well. 3 assists, 1 kill, and maybe looking to get aggressive on this bottom turret as well.
That was a beautiful piercing arrow from Fushop. The Rakio would not have finished off Grave, so piercing arrow cleaned that one up nicely. Now pinging on Nautilus, so they are going in again here, but the bot lane is not reacting, so it's going to be a 1 versus 1. Hecarim, of course, with his movement speed from the devastating charge, will get out of dodge without any problems. In the meantime, Alpen is coming to bot lane to just fill in the gaps until the AD carry returns. But still, 1-to-1 trade, very, very slow and steady start from both teams here. And who can blame them after game number 2? That was just unbelievable.
Yeah, for sure. Playing a bit more conservative, and as I said, that more aggression from top lane, but yeah, they want to kind of, hang back, make sure that no massive advantage goes in either of these teams. Nothing really swings either way, making sure that they can kind of transition into the mid game where probably they want to go for those team fights more than anything. All of these lanes are kind of closely matched when it comes into lane dominance, so getting into this mid game and let the game be decided by those team fights rather than the laning phase.
So Ari has just picked up the blue. In the meantime, the exact same is going to be said of Mouzor. Karthus taking down blue as well. So starting off with the tier of the Goddess and Sapphire Crystal, lots and lots of mana, lots of spamming potential. Nautilus has his eyes set on bot again here, and without a ward in the bush, well, doesn't need a ward at the end of the day because, Zyra's just going to pop down the harassment and land himself a plant on top of Halpern's face, and he will be pulling himself back. So both AD carry and supports, they have their spidey senses tingling. They realize when those potential threats will be coming in and just get passive whenever it happens.
Yeah, and AOD is just going to clear out that ward again, and honestly, he's had a field day with these wards. It's just like people just constantly putting down in that brush. AOD having a nice time clearing those out. And in fact, we do have Nautilus moving down once again. He's already placed down the ward, saw that removed. Saras Q looking to get a bite of the action as well. Both junglers down at bot lane. Fushop AOD looking to get aggressive. AOD, let's see how many Cs. He has 2 Cs right now, so he's ready and rearing to get these down onto either Tyrese and Lephilion. Just got the Mexican stare down at the moment as the Chains of Corruption comes in. Hail of Arrows into the crescendo as well. Ultimate comes in, Strangleforms comes out, knocks up Lephilion. However, Halpern now coming in to block them off. Saras Q coming in, Depth Charge comes out just to lock them down away from that team. And in fact, nice Dredge Line keeping himself and pulling himself to safety as that Grasping Roots landed just a second earlier.
Yes, so a ton of ultimates coming down, but you gotta say that Mouse Sports did come out slightly ahead there because they forced a lot of health away from the AD carry support and jungler and did a fair chunk of damage as well in the tower. So looking pretty good for them right now. The AOD on full HP. Fushop is auto-attacking his way into the same bracket, but they are against Sona, who is pretty much a heal bot. He's going to be spamming them already. Graves nearly at full HP himself. They're going to push this lane again, and now Fushop's recalling. There's a ward down in here, so it's going to give the opposition AD and support some information, but recalling with how much gold does he have? He had actually about over 1,500, I believe, when he recalled there. Didn't quite catch it. Either way, he has a BF sword, 2 Doran's Blades, and Boots of Speed. So when he comes back into this lane, Pulse, he is going to be deadly.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be hurting, and Tyrese and Lefillion are going to want to be a bit more cautious. I mean, only one death down, and generally 2 deaths or more is generally the significance of we want to hang back. We don't want to get any sort of aggression coming out or any trades going down because we're probably going to lose. So they can still trade if they get in the right position. The crescendo is obviously a major factor along with the burst from Graves as well. And in terms of bursty bot lanes, they're probably one of the highest. With collateral damage, bookshot, with the power cord as well and the Q from Sona, they're in a good position. So if they can get that off and catch maybe Zyra out of position, then they're in a good position. So up at top lane, we haven't really paid them too much love here, metas, because Kennen and Jace up at top lane, about 20 CS advantage currently for Kennen, and the kill as well, courtesy of that Nautilus. So honestly, since then, not too much action has gone down.
Yeah, exactly as you said, apart from that one, that gank, well actually 2 ganks it was, because of course there was the gank previous to that one as well, but it was second gank that was the charm. Other than that, it has by and large just been a farming frenzy. Although Kennen did get the kill, Jace isn't a mile behind. He is still trying to keep his way in there. Mana Moon has been finished off. Now Cyrus Q is coming towards top, so maybe trying to make a play on Kennen, who in the meanwhile, while the tower is not occupied and while the creeps are pushing, will take up double golem. So Cyrus Q is going to have to be patient here, and it doesn't look like patience is a virtue for him. He is going to be recalling.
Yeah, in fact, he might have just thought, oh, Kennen's recalled. Kennen just turns the corner into lane. It's just like, oh, he was taking Golem. So, Faldrian out of danger of any gank and completely oblivious to anything actually happening in his lane. But meanwhile, we do have that Nautilus just hanging around bot lane, maybe looking for that lane gank. But however, don't have Food Shop and AOD being too aggressive. Not going to be on the cards this time round.
A Slicing Maelstrom was used there from Kennen. Just got Thundering blowed back from Kikis though. So, by and large, Slicing Maelstrom was used for absolutely nothing, and will be down for quite a little bit of time. How long exactly? Is 98 seconds.
Hold that
Meanwhile, the Requiem is going down, Crescendo as well, and the Stranglethorn. So much AoE damage being popped. Again, the Piercing Arrow will snipe down the AD carry, and Nautilus comes in just to see his bot lane get crushed. Sad times for Helpern.
Yeah, we had that lane gang coming in from Sarah's Q, following in from a fantastic Chains of Corruption, enough to lock them down. The Sarge Q came in with the devastating charge, and that's just one of the strengths of Hecarim, because you get 1 CC down on that lane, he just appears from nowhere with so much movement speed, and now aggressing onto this Drake as well. Very, very little they can do. However, Halpern around the area, maybe looking to get the smite off. He is level 7 versus level 8, so the prospects are fairly low. Hail of Arrows goes down, and in fact Nautilus not going to risk his life, not quite worth it. In fact, better to just stick around and stick onto that red buff so Nasus can pick that one up.
Yeah, Mouz is starting to go through the gears here. Acceleration pedal definitely being pushed down. That's going to be a Drake 3-1, and they have also been pressuring this tower very, very hard. 107 hit points left on it, so that is not going to survive for a great deal longer. Mouz clearly not feeling the effects of game number 2. How is it looking for them on items? Pickaxe has been picked up as well from Varus. You've got Tear of the Goddess, as mentioned before, now on 420 stacks from Karthus. And their jungler is building towards the Aegis of the Legion. So pretty good news overall from our sports. Looking good here.
Yeah, so Team Turquality are in the position where they're like, right, we need to do something, because in the first game, it kind of had the same beginning at least, where they kind of got pushed back, and then they just got sieged, and then they just got pushed in, and it was very little that you could do about it. Meanwhile, mid just want to comment on Q just hanging around, but nothing really going to come of it. So, to that extent, we have, in fact, Graves picking up the triple Doran's Blade, just trying to keep himself in contention, make sure he doesn't fall too far behind, maybe pick up a kill of his own, and then bring themselves back into it, because a lane that doesn't go too well, I wouldn't say spells the end, because the last game was a perfect example of that. One lane going well, the rest of them kind of falling flat in their face, complete turnaround, TT coming out strong, but especially with that AD carry lane, they wanted to kind of stay within the game.
Yeah, and it's really interesting that you mentioned that, because of course last time they won one lane, lost too heavily, and the one lane was Graves, who's just been Chain of Corruption. Here comes Hecarim from the side. Crescendo has landed. Nautilus is in the right place at the right time, actually firing off his depth charge while in mid-air like a boss. He does not care about gravity. He's going to fire off that anchor regardless, but nobody falling as a result. So both junglers just counteracting each other. Talking of which, in mid, we now have both Ari and Karthus coming head-to-head, Spirit rushing through the wall on Drake, and will escape. But interesting ulti there. It's been a while since I've seen something like that happen. Nautilus was airborne while he threw his anchor. Now jumping on Moopsaw, actually. If the charm lands, going to be dangerous. And Moopsaw, feeling the same way, will be flashing to safety.
Yeah, gravity is something that Halpern does not even care about, and so, yeah, I was gonna say, let's, take a look at top lane, but they've just been farming, literally just been farming for the last 15 minutes, and Thaldrin on 100 and almost 150 CS at 15 minutes, is just a testament to how hard they've been farming. 130 coming in from Jace as well. Probably the only ones he's missed just far was because he was killed and he had to walk back into lane. So, yeah, nothing really to comment up there until we really hit teamfight and roaming stage, but in the rest of the lanes, we've had all our action.
Yeah, and the point I was going to make before we had the gravity-defying Nautilus was that last time around it was Graves that really snowballed his lane, with Draven, of course. Leviathan doing great job. And this time around he's got the 3 Doran's Blades. Now that's typically when an AD carry is really struggling. As you mentioned previously, it's the sustain, it's the damage. Speaking of damage, Kikis is facing a lot of it. Slicing Maelstrom coming in, but there's the Requiem. I don't feel that Thaldrin has a great deal here. In fact, never mind, because the charm must have came in mid, as Requiem was actually taken out of its tracks. So I'm assuming that good guy Ari just saved the life of Kedden at top lane and gave that a 1-for-0 trade. Big plays. Having said that, Ari is now on the receiving end of a very deadly horse with a scythe in his hands, and she will be falling down. There we go, any second now, dead. So 1-for-1 trade, but Ari doing a nice job cancelling the Requiem.
Yeah, meanwhile, bottom lane, Chains of Corruption once again for the rinse and repeat. Stranglethorns comes down, nice quick draw out of the way. Exhaust comes down, locking him down once again with the damage coming in from AOD. Fushot picking that one up. Now chasing on to Therese as well, doesn't want to overextend. Notice that Nautilus is around there, sniffing around their jungle as well. Sarasku just going to find him out and will be pushing him back. Gotta be careful though, because Moozle's around the corner. However, the depth charge goes down, huge damage coming out, dukes the dredge line, but doesn't even matter. The bleed comes in and ticks down onto Kaostv, picking up that kill with the red buff.
Yes, the red buff and Titan's Wrath living up to their name there. Kaostv could not survive. And again, just brilliant play from Ari, even though he did go down as a result. Having said that though, Kennen has now finished off the Zhonya's Hourglass, so Thaldrin's going to be very dangerous. You're going to be able to just jump in, be hyper-aggressive in these teamfight situations, and then just go invulnerable when it looks like he's about to die. Varus with the first pickup on Infinity Edge goes to show how strong that lane's been. A lot of Varus's will go for the Blade of the Ruined King, or potentially a Bloodthirster, so clearly not feeling like he's at too much danger right now. Thaldrin will be going in on Kikis, does some damage, pulls himself back. But Infinity Edge first on Varus, pretty interesting stuff there, Pulse.
Yeah, indeed, and as you said so many times before, Metas, it's a declaration of intent. It's like, we're going to be aggressive, we're going to be strong in these team fights, and we're going to go for these team fights, because we have our AD carry in a good place, we have Kaostv in a pretty decent place as well with that farm, 179 at 18 minutes, almost, I was going to say almost as good as Ken and almost as good as Ari, but almost matching them tit for tat with almost the same CS, and the amount of CSing going on in this game has been pretty nuts here, Metas, despite there being so much action.
It's just a testament to the player's skill. Moop's actually going to be going into contention with Graves. Exhaust goes down, now has Sona to contend with as well. This is a fight I don't think he wanted to pick. Collateral damage coming in thick and fast. That is going to be a dead Kaostv, but will he manage to pick up the kill? Requiem comes down. Is there going to be enough damage? No, there's not. And Graves will just about survive with the Requiem burnt, and that was a bit of a misplay for Moop's. I'm not sure if he realized that Sona was so close.
Yeah, for sure, but by the same token, Lefillian dropped very low, and I think at some point in that fight when he was trading blow for blow with the lay waste and the auto attacks, it's like, he actually has Death Defile, I should probably kill him before he manages to get that one off. And we have Nasus actually dropping down with the Spirit Rush, Chains of Corruption once again onto Halpern, into the Stranglethorns, doesn't quite connect the dredge line, following up once again, lands the the Deadly Bloom along with those auto attacks, and we do have Valdrin now coming in, landing the ultimate onto 4 people. The ultimate comes in onto the Shadows once again, and we also have them now chasing back with Kickers trying his best to get out of there with that acceleration gate. Should be good to go. 2-for-1 trade so far, but the Drake already picked up by Mouz Sports, and now Valdrin looking to keep him down and keep him suppressed, and it looks like Kicker's just trying his best to get near Tyrese, get near Ari, pick something up, but in fact Ari's just going to turn the corner and said, actually going to throw you a charm, mate, and take you out of the Order of Deception. And very, very smooth plays coming out from TT. 3-for-1 trade, did lose the Drake, probably fairly even when it comes into the gold totals.
But Cyrus Q is now opting to push mid very aggressively, so Mouz are trying their best to just equalize this one up. As you can see, it has been pretty much alluded to in the scoreline, 6-7 against Mouz Sports, but they're still about 1.6k gold ahead. Again, the curse of the commentator strikes. As I'm speaking of gold difference, the bot tower will fall, but they're still ahead. That being said, they're 2-1 towers being down, and they're also a kill down and still ahead on gold. So they've been, chugging along the entire game, trying to get as much CS as possible. As you mentioned previously, Pulse, even with all the action that's been kicking off, you still have some very, very high CS scores. Look at Karthus, 200 at 21 minutes. And he actually doesn't have a kill. He's 0-2, and he has 200 CS. Wow.
Yeah, and you've got the thing, he's been in that death chamber a couple minutes, he's still got that much farm. Imagine what would happen if he was 0-0 and 3. He would have even more farm. And let's take a look at his goal totals, 7,000. And that's matching up to basically everyone else on the enemy team. Even Kennen, who's got 3 kills, only 1,000 gold ahead. So subtracting those kills on the gold, he's basically got just as much as Kennen. So yeah, absolutely crazy. Just keeping himself within the game, because CS, what that allows you to do, haven't got the kills, but that's just enough gold to keep you in the game and able to do that damage that you really need, because after all, looking at Karthus, he is basically there for the damage. They already have the CC coming in from the rest of that team.
And what really glares out to me here, Pulse, is that this game looks like it could go down to the wire as well. Like, just look at the overall map presence from both teams. The goal difference, the kill difference, everything is pretty much even. There's very, very little to determine between these two teams right now. If we were to go into a late game period, 40, 50, 60 minutes through, which of these two compositions would you be favoring?
It's difficult, because you take a look at Karthus and it's like, well, he's one of the typical late game sort of a hyper carry AP carries who's just only going to get stronger, and it's very difficult to deal with in that late game scenario. Flash comes down into direct line from Hal Hearn, but doesn't quite connect, and they are just going to carry on farming. But take a look at the opposite team. You have a double AP composition, more centered around that mid game. You are looking more for the ADs to dominate that late game, more specifically the AD carries, but you have Jace as well, who's going to only ever get stronger. And we actually do have Halpern in with the deck charge. Flash comes in, Stranglethorns as well, and the Onslaught of Shadows. Requiem comes in for some more damage across the map. 3-shot laying down the hurt onto Valdrin. Flash comes in with the Rampage still following after as well, looking for that last auto attack. There's the shutdown coming in from Fushot. The double kill, nice crit, 413 damage straight onto the face of Ari, and this means a middle turret as well. And we were talking about the late game here, Metas, but not even sure if it's going to last that long.
Well, there you go. Mouz Sports, as if they could hear me, they're like, no, Vince, you're wrong. We're going to finish it right now. And we're going to push so hard. By the way, I'm going to mention that every single ultimate was put perfectly together from Mouz. The Chain of the Corruptions, into the Onslaught of Shadows, into the Stranglethorns, into the Requiem. And there was nothing that Team Turquality could do about it. They just got caught by everything, died almost instantly. Varus picking up the pieces, now 6-1-1, has so much gold in his back pocket, nearly 3,000. That's going to be a Last Whisper and a Zeal picked up instantly. So it's just gone from bad to worse. When you compare that to the AD carry build on the opposition, Graves has a Bloodthirster and Pickaxe, which is by no means terrible. But in terms of just sheer damage, Varus is going to cut Graves a new one. He's going to completely crush him.
Yeah, and we basically have to look at these team fights right now, because both teams want them, and honestly we haven't really seen either team or either character on any of the teams really looking for the laning phase of long past that now. And they're all looking for these team fights to get things done, so we have to look towards the team fight to really see who's going to come out ahead. Last team fight, Mouz just in such a good position. As you said, those perfect ultimates layering on top of each other, that's the type of team fight they wanted. And in fact, that was instigated by TT. So they've got to be more conservative when it comes onto these team fights. Acceleration Gate through that Shock Blast, did go through the wall, didn't quite pick up that blue buff, and Nasus will indeed pick that one up. So that's, you know, another point that they'll be able to just put onto their team and say, well, we should be able to come into the team fight alive and kicking.
Yeah, but there's a lot of threats, though. We mentioned this before, that even though Varus is looking unbelievably strong, Karthus as well, just finished off his needs to large rod. Depth charge has gone in here, actually, on Fusharp. He's got far away enough that it hasn't really bothered him. Chain of Corruption has gone through. Onslaught of Shadows as well. There is so much damage. Crescendo in the meantime, though, will be halting this Onslaught for a couple of seconds. But the killing spree and the double kill for Varus. Jace very, very nearly picking up the kill. In fact, it's going to go down regardless, though, from the Requiem, which nearly gets the double. Somehow, someway, Graves escapes, but that was a 0-for-4 trade, and it's going to be at least one tower, and more than likely the top inhib will be falling as a result. So Mouz is starting to shift through the gears. They are cruising down the highway on just absolute highs.
Yeah, and they are rapidly snowballing this game out of control. Just a couple minutes ago, it was anyone's game. It was like, who's going to win the next team fight? 2 team fights in a row, 2 good initiates. Brings them into the point of contention where they may even pick up this game very shortly. The direct line comes down, just whiffing, just around the corner though, unbeknownst to them, was Kicker's recalling. Had Halpern just turned that corner, he would have landed a nice hook and maybe picked that one up, but wasn't meant to be. So yeah, right now, Messers, it's not looking too great for TT, and we said this in the first game, and they did eventually get pushed in, but the second game was a lot closer than this. Do you think they can pull this one back?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's very difficult to answer because both teams showed a great deal of tenacity and spirit in game number 2, but Ari is in a really precarious position and is going to be going down for free. Fusharp unstoppable on the Varus right now, and the Drake is being picked up and indeed will be taken down, so you have to say the Ari trade for Drake is worth it in terms of gold. So not necessarily a terrible thing. To answer the question though, game number 2 showed me that Team Turquality can come back from a deficit and they can come back where their backs are against the wall. So the answer is yes, but it's going to be very difficult, especially when they keep getting caught out like this. Now Thaldrin is in the firing range on the chopping block and he has managed to escape with the lightning charge, but by putting him down so low, it's going to give them some free harassment on the mid inhib tower, and indeed that is going to be falling. So you know, they have to start mounting some kind of a comeback. They've lost 2 inhibs already. If they lose the 3rd, that is the GG.
Yeah, and this is 2 games in a row here. We've seen the sort of long-range pick potential teams coming out strong after getting ahead, and Tyrese over the wall. Just talking about long range. Almost half of the base away, Tyrese just gets clipped by that piercing arrow and all that damage with the CC coming out from Mouz. So, it's absolutely insane. You have the piercing arrow, you have the chains of corruption, you have the stranglethorns and grasping roots. However, Kickers in turn gets caught by the direct line. Talk about long range initiation. Fusharp gets locked down by the depth charge as well. Nasus not quite wanting to go in there, along with Lefelian and Thaldrin as well around the corner, actually getting highly aggressive, pops down the exhaust onto him. However, with the Zonias coming in, now Karthus getting dropped in the middle of that team. Don't want to be around the area for too long with that defile on as well. Fusharp gets locked up with the charm, but stands there and just rips apart that entire team. Stand there and nukes them down. Piercing arrow comes out, doesn't quite clip Tyrese. However, the hail of arrows doesn't connect the Zara attacks. But that's last person standing will be Tyrese, and I don't think he can do too much against the onslaught of Fusharp and AOD.
No, he can't. It was a heroic effort from TT, but have a look at top and mid. The super minions are pushing through. So even if they'd gone even if they had the AD carry or AP carry still alive here, it wouldn't make any difference. They've still lost that team fight well and truly. 1 Nexus tower going down, 2nd about to fall. And unless Sona can keep this going for the next few seconds, it's going to be a categorical no, as she has been taken out. And in fact, they're starting to leave the game. So this is the GG 2-1. And in the end goes to Mouz Sports. But a special honourable mention to Team Turquality for that game number 2. The amount of plays that they were making was just huge. I loved game number 2. It's just a shame to see game 3 go quite that one-sided.
Yes, and also to talk about Tyrese, because if the MVP is going to go to anyone, even on the losing team, it's got to go to Tyrese, pulling some tremendous plays, both in the first, second, and third game, in fact, matters. And you're going to have to think, in that scenario where it was 1 versus 2, if any support's going to do it, it's going to be Tyrese.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. His plays in game number 2 with Blitzcrank is really what made the composition falter from Mouse Sports. You know, we're talking about the front line or the lack thereof, but if Blitzcrank is landing grabs everywhere, it just doesn't matter. He's especially that pull on Corki in game 2 in the Baron pit when they were going for Baron. It allowed them to get the team victory, it allowed them to get Baron. It was just massive, massive plays. So yeah, I would go alongside that as well. I thought that Tyrese played an awesome game, and unfortunately his team did lose 2-1, but I think that's going to wrap up our coverage of this evening, Pulse.
Yes, indeed, and we're just getting messaged by our producer.